An obese girl was given to a poor farmer by her drunk father as punishment. She didn't know he owned thousands of acres and would love her like no one ever did. "You're a burden, Amelia, a fat, useless burden." The words slammed into the walls of the small wooden house like thunder. Outside, clouds rolled across the gray sky, casting long shadows across the porch. Inside, the scent of alcohol clung to the air like something rotten. Amelia stood motionless near the kitchen sink, hands clenched at her sides. Her pale cheeks were flushed, not from shame, but from years of swallowing every insult without reply. She wore a faded dress that clung to her round frame, her golden hair braided loosely down her back, wisps curling near her damp eyes. "You think you'll ever find a man who'll want you?" her father sneered, swaying slightly as he pointed a shaking finger at her. "You sit around, stuffing your face, while I break my back, keeping this place from falling apart? I tried, and you never acknowledged what I did." "Shut it," he roared, slamming his glass down on the table. It cracked, but didn't shatter. "You're lucky I found someone who'd take you off my hands. A poor farmer. Doesn't ask for money, just wants a wife. You'll be gone by sunset." Amelia's breath caught. "What?" "I said you're getting married, today. You're going to live on his land and stop being my problem." Her vision blurred, the edges of the world closing in like a collapsing tunnel. She turned away from him, her eyes landing on the small, dusty frame perched on the corner shelf, a photo of her mother. Time had dulled its colors, but the smile in her mother's eyes still glowed, soft and patient. Amelia had been 10 when she lost her. Since then the house had become colder, the days quieter, and love scarce. "Mom wouldn't let you do this," she whispered. Her father laughed bitterly, picking up his bottle. "Your mother was too soft. Look where that got her. Dead." A soft gasp escaped Amelia's lips. She didn't cry often anymore. It had always made things worse. But now, standing in the suffocating silence of the kitchen, with the ghost of her mother watching from the shelf, something inside her cracked. She went to her room, grabbed the old suitcase she had once packed for a dream that never came true, and quietly stuffed it with a few dresses, a hairbrush, and a photo album that still smelled faintly of lavender. She didn't speak another word to her father as she stepped out the door. Rain had not started falling, but the wind carried the promise of it. The porch creaked beneath her weight. Her sandals slipped slightly on the worn wooden steps. And then she saw him. Levi stood by the old truck at the edge of the yard. Tall, with sun-browned skin and dark eyes under a wide-brimmed straw hat, he didn't look like someone come to collect a bribe. His clothes were simple: jeans, boots, a weathered blue shirt, but clean. His posture was calm, neither eager nor ashamed. Amelia hesitated, heart pounding. She adjusted the strap of her bag on her shoulder and stepped forward. But the ground beneath her shifted. Her sandal caught the edge of a loose plank. She wobbled, panic shooting through her chest. And then he moved, not to grab her, not to catch her outright, but to step closer, slowly, hands open and steady, not touching her, just close enough to be there. "You okay?" he asked, voice quiet and even, like the hush before a summer storm. Amelia looked at him, blinking through the tears that had welled up from shock and shame and years of being overlooked. She nodded, then shook her head, then nodded again. No one had ever asked her that before, not like this, not without judgment, not without pity. He offered her a faint smile, not pressed or polished, just honest. "I'm Levi," she swallowed. "Amelia." There was an awkward pause. "You don't have to come if you don't want to," he said. Amelia glanced back at the doorway. Her father stood in the shadows, already turning away, pouring another drink. She faced forward again. "I don't think I have anywhere else." Levi nodded, as if he already understood. He walked to the passenger door and opened it for her, then stepped back. She climbed in, heart thudding, suitcase on her lap like a shield. As the engine started, she looked out the window. The photo of her mother flashed in her mind again, those eyes, full of gentle knowing. And for the first time in a long time, Amelia wondered what it would feel like to belong somewhere she wasn't seen as broken. Levi didn't speak as he drove, but every so often he glanced over, not at her body, not with curiosity or disdain, but with quiet acknowledgement. And that, somehow, was enough for now. The truck rumbled down a narrow dirt road, golden fields rolling endlessly under the afternoon sky. Amelia clutched her suitcase, heart thudding. She had expected barren land, cracked wood, and silence. But this was different. As they turned a bend, the house came into view. A modest wooden cabin, wrapped in sunflower fields that stretched far into the horizon. A wicker chair rocked gently on the porch. Wind chimes twinkled under the eaves. It was not grand, but it felt alive. Levi parked the truck and stepped out first. He did not open her door or rush her. He simply waited. Amelia followed, eyes wide, breathing in the scent of earth and wildflowers. Inside, the house was small, clean, warm. The kitchen had herbs hanging over the sink. A bookshelf by the wall held titles about farming, poetry, even cookbooks. "That room's yours," Levi said quietly, pointing down the hall. Amelia stepped inside. A bed, soft linens, a desk near the window. Morning light would fall perfectly there. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. Levi leaned in the doorway. "Nothing right away. You can help in the garden later, or rest, just be. That's enough." No one had ever said that to her before. In the days that followed, Amelia settled in slowly. She watered sunflowers in the morning, read in the afternoons, tried cooking at night. One evening she burned the soup and pan completely. The smoke and smell overwhelmed her. "I'm sorry," she said quickly when Levi walked in. "I ruined it." He sniffed the air and grinned. "Smells like my first attempt, except I nearly set the barn on fire. You just charred dinner." She laughed, hesitantly, but it was hers. Bit by bit she changed. Her clothes fit more loosely. She no longer hid her arms. She sang while working in the garden. It was quiet, but it was peace. Then came the honey cake. She found the recipe in Levi's book, sunflower-shaped, light and golden. She worked all afternoon, carefully following each step, but when she pulled it from the oven, the center had caved in. Her heart dropped. Furious, she grabbed the warm pan and stormed the compost pile. She tossed the cake in with a thud. Behind her, footsteps. She turned, startled. "Levi! Don't! It's trash!" He reached down, broke off a piece, and took a bite. She stared, fuming. "Why would you do that?" He chewed, then said, "It tastes real." "What does that mean?" she snapped. "It means someone tried, not perfect, not a bakery. Just you." She stared at him, speechless. No one had ever spoken about her like that. Her eyes burned. Levi added, "I've had perfect cakes. Can't remember one of them. This one, I'll remember." The tears fell before she could stop them. She turned away. Levi said nothing more. He stood beside her as the wind moved through the flowers, and for the first time, Amelia did not feel like she had been sent here to be discarded. She felt welcomed. The mornings came gently on the farm, with dew clinging to sunflower petals and birds chattering like old friends. Amelia stood barefoot on the porch one morning, the wooden planks warm beneath her feet, watching the sun rise over rows of golden blooms. The land no longer felt like a place she was sent to be forgotten. It felt alive, and so was she. "Ready to get your hands dirty?" Levi asked, appearing at her side with 2 straw hats in one hand and a gentle smile on his face. She took the hat, settling it over her hair. "Do I get a refund if my flowers die?" she teased. He raised an eyebrow. "Full refund," he said, "paid in burnt muffins." Amelia laughed, a full, unguarded sound that surprised even herself. They spent the morning in a new plot just beyond the main sunflower field. Levi showed her how to till the soil, how to gently press seeds down, not too deep, not too shallow. "You want the roots to feel safe," he explained, "but not buried." She mimicked his motions, hands in the dirt, sun on her shoulders. Her body, so often the source of shame, of ridicule, felt purposeful here. Her thick arms were strong, steady. Her wide feet grounded her. She was not in the way. She was a part of the land. Days turned into weeks. The seeds sprouted. Amelia learned to water in the early mornings and speak softly to the buds. "It helps," Levi said once with a shrug. "Might just be kindness matters, even to plants." One afternoon, while trimming the edges of a row, Amelia noticed Levi by the mailbox, slipping a thick envelope into it. He did not see her watching. She said nothing. Back inside, she peeked out the window and watched as the mail truck drove off. She wondered if he was paying bills or sending letters to someone important, but she did not ask. Not yet. Then came the day the first sunflower opened. It was smaller than the others in the big field, but the petals were wide and unbroken, a soft golden yellow that seemed to hum in the sunlight. Amelia bent down and cradled the stem with both hands, breath catching. She had planted this. She had placed the seed, watered it, whispered to it, and it had bloomed. Her throat tightened. She dropped to her knees in the dirt, still holding the flower. Tears welled up before she could stop them. It was just a flower, but it was hers. A soft crunch of boots on soil made her look up. Levi stood a few feet away, watching quietly. He said nothing, just nodded once. "I grew this," she whispered. "I know. I never thought I could make something beautiful." Levi stepped forward, crouching beside her. "You didn't just grow it," he said. "You believed in it, even when it looked like nothing. That's the hard part." Amelia swiped at her tears, embarrassed but smiling. Later that evening, as she passed the porch on her way in, she saw the envelope again, this time sitting on the corner table inside. It was unsealed. Her eyes caught a glimpse of the return address, some kind of agricultural foundation. Her curiosity burned, but she turned away. She did not know yet that Levi had been quietly donating money to fund scholarships for local students, or that he had helped dozens of small farmers rebuild their soil after years of drought. She did not know he had been one of the key sponsors for a statewide program in sustainable agriculture. All she knew was this: he was kind, he was patient, and he saw her. She stood at the kitchen sink that night, washing dishes slowly. Her fingers still smelled faintly of sunflowers. Her arms ached, but it was the good kind of ache, the kind that came from doing something real. Behind her, Levi stirred a pot on the stove. "You think your flower has a name?" he asked suddenly. She turned, surprised. "What?" He glanced at her over his shoulder. "Some folks name their first bloom for luck." Amelia thought for a moment, then smiled. "Hope," she said. Levi nodded. "Fitting." Outside, the wind rustled the sunflower fields, and inside, something quiet and steady began to grow between them, stronger than seeds, deeper than soil. It started like any other morning: soft breeze, golden skies, coffee brewing in the kitchen. Amelia was tying back her hair when she heard the sound of tires crunching gravel outside. She peered through the curtain and saw a dusty sedan pulling up the drive. A tall man in a wrinkled blazer stepped out, clutching a leather-bound notebook. Levi met him at the porch, his expression unreadable. Amelia watched from the window, something about the man's brisk manner unsettling her. He introduced himself as Colin Harris, an old acquaintance apparently, though Levy did not look thrilled to see him. "I won't take much of your time," Colin said, his voice too smooth. "Just a few follow-ups for a story, off the record. You know how these things go." Levi hesitated before nodding, then gestured toward the porch swing. Amelia brought out a tray with lemonade and cookies, trying to stay polite despite the tension in the air. As she handed Colin his glass, he dug into his satchel for his notepad, and in the clumsy shuffle, a folded newspaper clipping slipped from the side pocket and fluttered to the wooden floor. It landed at Amelia's feet. She bent to pick it up, intending to return it without reading, but her eyes caught the headline before she could stop herself. Levi Mason resurface. Former agri-tycoon living under the radar after scandal. Her heart stuttered. She opened the paper slowly. There was a photo of Levi in a suit, shaking hands with a senator. The article listed awards, land holdings, board positions. It told of a man once worth millions, founder of one of the largest agricultural trusts in the region, who had vanished from the public eye after a messy corporate fallout. Amelia said nothing. She stood there, fingers tight around the paper, staring at the image of a man who looked too polished to belong in her quiet wooden kitchen. Too powerful to be the one who gently picked up her dropped garden gloves and baked muffins with lopsided tops. Levi noticed her expression. He rose from the swing, his eyes already full of regret. "You are never going to tell me?" Her voice was calm but distant. "I was going to," he said quietly, "but not like this." Amelia handed the paper back to the reporter, turned without another word, and walked inside. She packed in silence, clothes folded quickly, books stacked in uneven piles. Her suitcase creaked open like it, too, was protesting. She paused only once, fingers brushing the ceramic vase where her sunflower still bloomed. It wilted slightly. Outside, the door creaked. Levi stood in the doorway, hat in hand, boots dusty. He did not step in. "Amelia," he began, voice low, "please listen." She did not turn around. "Was I a project to you?" "No," he said firmly. "You were never that." "Then what was I? A way to soothe your guilt? A story you could fix after yours fell apart?" He stepped closer but did not touch her. You are the first person in a long time who made me feel like a man again. Not a failure, not a headline." She turned then, anger rising to the surface, not fury but betrayal. "You let me believe you were just a farmer." "I am a farmer," he said. "I left all of that behind. That man in the article, that is not who I am anymore." Amelia's eyes filled with tears. "But I let myself believe I was enough. For someone simple. Someone like me. Now I do not know what is real." Levi stepped back, his face breaking open with something raw. "You are real," he said. "You, Amelia. The way you laugh when you burn your toast. The way you talk to your plants like they are old friends. The way you held that first sunflower like it was sacred." She shook her head. "It hurts, Levi." "I do not want to be someone you settle down with after you have nothing left." His voice cracked. "You are not the after, Amelia. You are the beginning." She stood frozen, suitcase half-zipped, heart torn between the hurt and the hope. Levi took a breath. Then, softly, slowly, "I did not fall in love with you because you are perfect. I fell in love with you because you are real. Like this land, rough around the edges but honest, capable of growing life where people thought nothing could thrive." Silence fell between them, heavy but not unkind. Amelia looked down at her hands, still dusted from the garden, still calloused from planting. Her eyes drifted to the sunflower again, its drooping petals catching the light. She did not say a word, but she did not zip the suitcase either. Levi waited. And in the quiet that followed, something tender began to take root again. Not trust, not yet, but the space where it might grow. The next morning, the silence between them was different. It was not cold, it was cautious, careful. Amelia did not unpack her suitcase, but she did not finish packing either. She wandered through the garden like she always had, watering the rows of basil, checking the shy sprouts of the new sunflower patch. But her steps were slower, as if waiting. Levi found her near the back fence just before noon, a pair of pruning shears in his hand, not to use, just something to hold. He stood quietly for a moment, then said, "Can I tell you something?" Amelia nodded without looking up. "I was married," he began, "years ago." She turned her head slightly, listening. Her name was She had a laugh that could stop arguments mid-sentence. "We met in college. She believed in everything. People, causes, stray dogs. Especially me." He paused. "She got sick 2 years after we bought this land together, something rare. It moved fast. I tried everything, doctors, treatments, new trials, but nothing stopped it. Nothing even slowed it down. Amelia's breath caught. I watched her shrink inside her own body. I held her through the pain. I was there at the end, but I think I stopped living before she did. His voice was steady, but barely. Amelia finally turned toward him. Levi's eyes weren't asking for pity, they were offering truth. When she passed, I gave up everything. The foundation, the board seats, the house in the city. I came here, alone. I thought I'd grow things again, but nothing grew in me. He took a slow step closer. Then you arrived. At first I thought I was just trying to be decent, give you a safe place, let you rest. But then, you burned soup and made it smell like maple syrup. You planted seeds, like you were whispering secrets to the soil. You walked like you were afraid the world might tip over if you leaned too hard. And I realized, he exhaled, voice catching, you were the first person in years to make me want to start again. Amelia felt her throat tighten. She pressed a hand to her chest, as if trying to calm the storm building inside. Levi looked down, almost embarrassed. You do not have to say anything. I just needed you to know. Amelia took a step forward, her eyes glassy. I have spent most of my life trying not to take up space. I figured if I stayed quiet enough, small enough, maybe I would not be such a burden. Her voice trembled. But out here I feel, I do not know, like maybe I am not too much, like maybe someone could stop and see me, not look through me, not around me, but really see me. She met his eyes. You are the first person who made me feel worth that second look. Levi's hand twitched at his side, but he did not reach for her. You are not a burden, Amelia. You never were. She nodded, slowly. And you are not a fraud. They stood in the dappled light, the wind bending the tall grass around them. No promises passed between them, no declarations, just a quiet, honest choice. To begin again. Not as saviors, not as soulmates fated by the stars, but as two people who had been broken in different ways and somehow found each other whole enough to try. Amelia reached out and gently touched the sleeve of his shirt. Today, she said softly, let us just be here today. Levi smiled, not with his mouth, but with his whole face. That is more than I hoped for, and together they turned toward the garden. The rhythm of the days shifted slowly, gently, like the changing of seasons. Amelia no longer counted the hours or marked the weeks. Her mornings began with the soft clucking of hens and the smell of damp earth. Her afternoons filled with notes scrawled in a little ledger Levi had given her. Seed costs, weather notes, harvest expectations. Her handwriting was messy but growing more confident with every entry. She had burned fewer meals lately, learned how to gauge flour without the scale, found joy in measuring ingredients with her heart rather than precision. Levi sometimes peeked into the kitchen under the pretense of checking on the stove, but she always caught him sneaking spoonfuls of whatever she was testing. One late Thursday morning, while calculating expenses for the next planting season, Amelia misread a number on a supplier's invoice. Instead of ordering a small batch of new seedlings, she approved a bulk shipment meant for commercial use, triple the amount they needed. The charge hit their account before she noticed. She stared at the bill in disbelief, her stomach sinking. When Levi walked in, she held it out without a word, eyes already brimming. I messed up, she said. It is all wrong. I did not double-check. Levi read the number, whistled low, then looked at her face. That is quite a patch of tomatoes. I can fix it, she rushed. Maybe I can sell them, or replant, or… Levi cut her off gently. Amelia, breathe. She blinked at him. Do you know how many times I have done worse? He asked. When I first started the foundation, I approved a deal that cost us $500,000, all because I was too proud to ask for help. Amelia stared. And they did not fire you? I fired myself, he said with a half smile. And then I started over, same as you are now. She looked down at her hands. I feel stupid. "You are not stupid," he said. "You are learning. And people who learn from mistakes are the ones who keep the land alive." She exhaled, a slow nod forming. That same week, inspired by a group of local children who had wandered by the garden fence asking about the flowers, Amelia proposed a weekend class. Levi agreed instantly, and within days signs were up. Sunflower Saturdays, free garden fun and baking for kids. The turnout surprised her. A dozen children showed up the first weekend, curious and bright-eyed. Amelia taught them how to knead dough, press flower petals into clay, and plant sunflower seeds in painted cans. The laughter filled every corner of the garden, and so did Amelia's voice. Word spread. More children came, and parents too, drawn not just by the activities but by Amelia herself, the warmth in her voice, the way she never made anyone feel less than enough. "She is like the afternoon sun," an old farmer's wife said one day. "Gentle, but everything grows under her." One Saturday, as the class wrapped up, a chubby little girl with curly hair ran up and threw her arms around Amelia's waist. "You are the biggest princess I have ever seen," the girl said in a loud whisper, "and the prettiest." Amelia froze for a beat, then bent down slowly, wrapping the child in a tight hug. "Thank you," she whispered. "That might be the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me." Levi stood nearby, pretending to organize tools, but his eyes were on her. The way she moved now, more sure of herself, more open. He remembered the girl who had once flinched when he said her name, who had arrived with shoulders curled inward, afraid to take up space. And now she was blooming, not despite who she was, but because of it. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the last of the children wandered home with cookie-stained fingers and sunflower seedlings in hand, Amelia sat on the porch, her apron still dusted with flour. Levi joined her, handing her a cold lemonade. "You are kind of a local hero now," he teased. Amelia smiled softly. "They make me feel light." "You make them feel seen," he replied. "And that changes everything." She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time she allowed herself to feel the weight of belonging, not as something she had to earn, but something she had finally truly found. The autumn sun dipped low, casting golden light over the town square, now transformed for the annual harvest festival. Stalls lined the cobblestone paths, draped in orange and red, pumpkins stacked high beside jars of apple jam and handmade crafts. In the center stood a small wooden stage, wrapped in sunflowers and twinkling string lights. Amelia stood just off stage, nervously adjusting the hem of her linen dress. Her hands trembled slightly. She had never spoken in front of a crowd, not like this. But when the mayor had asked her to speak about the garden program and her journey, she had said yes. Maybe because Levi had squeezed her hand under the table when she hesitated. Maybe because a dozen little hands had pulled on her apron that morning, saying, "We cannot wait to hear Miss Amelia talk." Now the microphone was live. Her name was called, and every eye turned to her. Amelia stepped onto the stage, swallowing hard. She looked out and saw familiar faces, children from her Saturday classes, townspeople she had come to know. And in the very front row, Levi, smiling with quiet encouragement. She took a breath. "I used to believe," she began slowly, "that people only saw what I was not graceful enough, not small enough. Not enough of anything." She paused, voice shaking, but kept going. "For years, I carried those voices inside me. They were heavy, louder than truth, until someone handed me a packet of sunflower seeds." Soft laughter rippled through the crowd. "I planted them wrong," she continued, smiling faintly. "Too close together, too shallow. I was sure they would not grow, but they did. Not perfectly, but bravely, like they wanted to prove something." She glanced at Levi. "And so did I." Her voice steadied as she spoke of learning to bake, to till soil, to stand taller, of how every mistake had taught her something more precious than pride, of how, for the first time in her life, She had looked in the mirror and not flinched. "I am still round," she said, grinning now. "Still messy, still me, but I am not sorry anymore. I am growing." Applause followed her final words, gentle at first, then rising like wind through wheat. She stepped back, tears welling in her eyes, but before she could leave the stage, Levi was moving. He stepped up beside her, sunflower in hand, and without a word dropped to one knee. Gasps echoed across the square. Amelia's hand flew to her mouth. Levi looked up at her, eyes steady, voice full. "You once said," he began, "that you had never seen yourself as radiant. But to me, Amelia, you are the first sun after the longest night. You are light I thought I lost." He held out something small, hand-woven, delicate. It was a ring, braided from soft green stalks, with a single tiny bloom tucked at its center. "This is from the first garden you grew," he said, "the one you thought would never bloom, but it did." "Like you." Tears rolled silently down Amelia's cheeks. The crowd was hushed, holding its breath. "I do not have diamonds," Levi said softly, "but I have land and love and a life I want to build with you. Will you marry me, Amelia?" She laughed, a sound like sunlight, and nodded, barely able to speak. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes." He slid the ring onto her finger. The crowd erupted, and beneath a canopy of sunflowers and a sky turning amber with dusk, Amelia felt like the most radiant woman alive. Amelia stepped out from behind the barn, heart pounding, nerves tangled with joy. The afternoon sun poured golden light over the sunflower field, their tall heads nodding in the breeze like old friends. She wore the dress made by the villagers, simple white cotton, no defined waist, just comfort and care. The skirt flared gently as she walked. Her golden hair was curled, cheeks glowing, eyes bright. She looked radiant. She looked free. Music drifted softly from the makeshift organ. Rows of chairs lined the aisle, flanked with jars of sunflowers. Children giggled, weaving petals into garlands. The air carried a hush of reverence, wrapped in joy. At the very back, sitting alone, was Amelia's father. In his worn jacket, slouched forward, eyes red, he looked like a man who had forgotten how to stand tall. He looked up as she approached. He didn't rise. Amelia paused at the aisle, took a breath, and walked. Each step forward was her own. She held her head high, her dress fluttering with the breeze. Near the final row, her father finally stood. Hat in hand, his eyes met hers. Amelia stopped, then stepped closer. She gently placed her hand on his shoulder. Her voice was quiet, steady. "I forgive you." "Not for you, for me." His shoulders lifted just slightly. He nodded, nothing more, nothing less. But it was enough. Then Levi appeared, stepping into the clearing, eyes only for Amelia. He knelt beside her, one hand in hers, the other holding a small note. "Amelia Mason," he said, voice low but steady. "You showed me what it means to truly grow, not just land, but a life. You helped me believe in hope again. I promise to tend this life with you, through every season." He unfolded the note. "To the kindest, strongest, most beautiful woman I've ever known. I used to think flowers bloomed despite the soil, but they bloom because of it, and you, Amelia, are the richest soil I've ever known. You gave everything around you life." Her eyes shimmered. "I love you for every burnt pot, every laugh, every moment you doubted but kept going. You're not perfect. You're perfect for me. Will you marry me again?" Tears slid down her cheeks. She nodded, laughing through them. "Yes." He slid the braided grass ring on her finger, the same one from the harvest festival. The crowd erupted into cheers as petals rained gently in the breeze. The organ played again. Amelia took Levi's hand. They stepped together toward the field, where sunflowers stood tall like witnesses to a new beginning. A year passed. On a spring morning, golden light kissed the blossoms. In the middle of the field stood Amelia, Levi, and their daughter, Daisy. Her curls bounced as she toddled forward, round cheeks dimpled with laughter. "Mama, flower," Daisy cried, pointing up. Amelia scooped her up, and Levi wrapped his arms around them both. He kissed Amelia's temple and whispered, "Thank you for giving me this life." She smiled, looking at Daisy, then at him. "Thank you for loving me first." Their daughter reached for Levi's face, and they leaned into one another, safe, whole, and surrounded by the field that had watched their story bloom. Love, once planted, had grown into something extraordinary. If this story touched your heart the way it touched ours, do not forget to subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories, where we bring you powerful tales of healing, hope, and the quiet strength that lives within us all. Every week, we share stories that remind us love can bloom in the most unexpected places, and sometimes the ones we least expect become our greatest blessings. If Amelia's journey from sorrow to sunshine moved you, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share this video with someone who needs a little light today. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the soil that feels hardest to stand on is the one where the most beautiful flowers grow.